Before the video begins, if you like what I do and want to support me in a more personal way, consider joining me on Patreon. Members get exclusive perks for just £3 a month. Link in the description.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the layout. So this is part 2 in the work in progress series for the latest iteration of the Triton Brick Railway. Part 1 was very successful. Now we have to get on to part 2, which has been highly anticipated. There is still a lot to showcase and go through, so let's jump right in. With the pond now done, it is time to transition focus to the station and a footpath. The bottom left corner of the main layout is going to be my entry point towards the station. A big old footpath was created by using a lot of 1x2 tiles in dark grey along with some jumper tiles to put some minifigures on. Later on we will see a fence be erected in front of the footpath, but between where the future fence will go and the footpath itself, I decided to make a foundation for some more greenery. And I want a rock wall. I have loads of these big rock pieces for just such an occasion. A baseline of these big rock pieces was set up along with some smaller patterned rock pieces. My local Lego store had these on the pick-a-brick wall, so I took advantage of getting a couple of boxes of them. So with the bulky pieces in place, it's time to put the small pieces in. This took a while, but intricate detailing always takes time. This was a design feature I had in mind for a very long time. Lucky for me then, as it turned out I had a lot of dark grey brick slope pieces. A few hours later, voila! The entire rock wall has been filled in with these slope bricks. I did as much as I could to make sure I wasn't repeating any patterns anywhere. It's a bit difficult to do that when you only have so many different shaped pieces to use, but overall I think this looks very natural. The big rock pieces themselves definitely helped in getting a baseline set up. However, I wasn't too keen on the pattern pieces on the top half of the rock wall. Seeing the same pattern again and again along a wall just doesn't make it look natural. After consulting a couple of friends and club members about what they thought about this particular design, they all agreed with me in that it was not a good look. So, since we have a unanimous vote, all of those pieces came straight back off. And yeah, the rock wall looks so much better now. It's much less distracting. The fact that it's shorter in height as well does make it look better. The space between the footpath and the rock wall was filled in with some flowers, and I am pretty happy to say that the rock wall is done. That long line of exposed studs, I'm actually going to keep it there for now. So with all of these plant pieces being put down, I wanted to make sure everything looked natural. But what didn't look natural was a random bench just in the middle of a bunch of leaves. So I took out the bench and all the flag posts and just filled in the area with more of these 3-leaf pieces. Building something like this lets you have an opportunity to have some fun with the scenery. A couple of tiny animals having a meeting. That's cute. The previously mentioned fence is now in place. I was tempted to brick build one, but I had a lot of these 1x4 fence pieces, so may as well use them. Underneath these 3-leaf pieces, and next to the ballast for the track, are these smaller leaf pieces, as a way of filling in any dead space. The left baseboard was really coming together. A lot more scenic, a lot more colourful, a lot more vibrant. But I was starting to have some problems with the footpath. That random, massive, chunky space, it just didn't look right. So then, it's time to work on the other side of the layout. Flipping it over and putting the pond in the rear, it's time to make a full-on, proper picnic area. A few months ago, I made this popcorn stand as part of a collaboration. I've been able to recycle it for this layout. People who arrive to this railway need to be able to access this new area. So on the other side of the platform, a second footpath was made. It uses the same method of using 1x2 tiles as the main footpath does, along with some jumper plates to put some minifigures on. However, the ramp that goes over the track is done with some reddish brown tiles. The benches were put down, I used pretty much the rest of all of the 3-leaf pieces I had, and that sets up the main picnic area. I think the sizing for this particular scene is perfect. It's not so massive where everything is so spread out, but it's not so small where everything feels cramped either. It's quaint, but it is also filled with life at the same time. I was going to hide a crocodile amongst the leaves, but I thought that was a bit too stupid. And now, to play with these pieces. Something that was also on my local LEGO store's pick-a-brick wall way back in the day were these, I think they're called ice cream pieces, but they came in purple. So I grabbed a big old handful and waited one day to put them to use. And that use is for this layout. These look lovely as berry bushes. I've set up some 3 stem pieces along with some 1x1 flower pieces in green to give these berry pieces something to hang on to. And because this is going to be more populated with minifigures than any other section of the layout, it would be fun to set up a few minifigures going berry picking. There needed to be a protective fence for the picnic area. This time I made sure to brick build them. The design for the fence is very simple, some 4 long pole pieces, some 1x1 side-studded pieces, a 1x1 tile, and a 1x1 round plate. Building these in black was kind of on purpose. I think it's the best colour to use for this particular fence, but it's also the only colour that was plentiful enough in order to make these in the first place. Time to fill in some more dead space! Since I have loads of these leaf pieces, may as well put them all to use. They're tucked in under the fence, poking out a plentiful amount, stacking them in some areas to try and remove all that base green space. The signs from the original picnic area made a return, and the leaf pieces made their way all the way over to the reddish-brown crossover. After putting all of that into place, I took a step back, reassembled the layout, and it is nearly done. There was one more thing I wanted to do. The back right corner was way too open. I hate the dead space. So, after consulting some club members and friends even further on the layout, I decided to brick build a little hill. Looking at it from the front, it looks much more appealing. This used up a lot of plates and bricks, but it was absolutely worth it. I think this is one of the few things you could build with LEGO where all these exposed studs benefit the build. I finally got around to adding in some minifigures, and it definitely brings some more life to the scene. I was also toying around with some leftover 3-leaf pieces, trying to stack them on top of each other to give a bit of elevation in some areas. But sadly, the visual effects were minimal, so this is all I did. But there's always a chance to play with this new scenery, so I placed a little rat piece in there. At this point, I was able to find a box of loads of 1x1 flower pieces in yellow, so I decorated the hill in flowers. I also found some old flower pieces too, those really big chunky ones. So here in this field of yellow flowers, these 2 seagulls are beholding the big yellow flower. Maybe it's special to them, who knows. And this is the finalised, complete version of the narrow gauge layout. I have to be honest, I'm quite amazed that I was able to put this together. I always said to myself I knew I had the capability to make something on this level. I've made train layouts before where they are way more simpler in design, but this is exactly how I pictured it. All the wildlife, the intricate details, the pond, the picnic area. It's exactly what I hoped. But this is only phase 1 of what I want this layout to ultimately become. So the next thing to do is to get this in its elevated position above the main running line. However, I'm not actually sure how I want to do this, because the original plan was for this to go over the curves on one end. However, I am thinking it might be better to put this over a straight section of track. That way I can recycle and reuse it however I want to, depending on any changes I make to the layout in the future. But that is a project for another day. Thank you all ever so much for watching. If you like what I do and want to support me in a more personal way, consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon members get exclusive perks, including being able to watch videos early, getting special behind the scenes work in progress updates, and much more. Link in the description. Thanks again for watching everyone. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.